For over 7 decades, NATO's Article 5 has stood as the foundation of the military alliance, its ultimate security guarantee that an attack on one ally is considered an attack on all. But as leaders gathered in Ankara for this year's NATO Summit, it became clear that while every member supports Article 5, they don't all describe its purpose in exactly the same way. For countries living on NATO's eastern frontier, Article 5 is an ironclad military shield against Russia. For others, it is equally important to remind the world that NATO remains, first and foremost, a defensive alliance. That difference in emphasis is shaping one of the alliance's most important conversations.
For me, as a representative of the eastern flank country, Lithuania, it's very important to have the Article 5 ironclad. Article 5 is a key element of our collective security.
The urgency felt by NATO's eastern members is easy to understand. From Lithuania and Latvia to Estonia and Poland, leaders repeatedly described Russia as the alliance's principal long-term threat. For these countries, Article 5 is far more than legal language in a treaty. It is the military guarantee that prevents conflict before it even begins. Their message in Ankara was that deterrence only works if Moscow never doubts NATO's willingness to defend every inch of Allied territory.
I expect allies today to acknowledge collectively that Russia is the long-term threat to NATO territory. What we are doing is delivering on the pledge to strengthen our alliance. We have to make sure every day that we are as strong as possible, because that is how we prevent wars from happening in the first place.
Yet while Eastern allies stressed deterrence, another message emerged from Western Europe. Belgian Prime Minister Bart de Wever argued that Article 5 should not be misunderstood. He reminded reporters that NATO was created as a defensive alliance, not one designed to wage offensive wars. It is a subtle but significant distinction, particularly at a time when the alliance is expanding military support for Ukraine, while Kyiv itself remains outside NATO's collective defense umbrella.
Article 5 is about collective defense. NATO is a defensive alliance. We have to remain very clear about what the alliance was created to do, and that is to defend the territory and security of its member states.
That distinction has become increasingly important as NATO members continue to deepen their support for Ukraine. Across today's summit, leaders pledged more military aid, greater investment in defense production, additional air defense systems, and continued financial assistance for Kyiv. But despite this unprecedented backing, Ukraine is still not covered by Article 5. The result is a growing political debate over where NATO's collective defense commitments end and where strategic support for partners begins.
The burdens are shifting away from the United States towards Canada and towards Europe. Capacities are building, and those capacities are building on a regional basis. If you're Canada, you focus on North American security and the crescent that runs through the Arctic down into the Baltics. That's the type of approach of a modern NATO. That's the approach that meets the new threats that we face.
In the end, no leader arriving at the NATO summit questioned the alliance's commitment to Article 5, but their words revealed different perspectives on what that commitment means in today's security environment. For NATO's eastern flank, Article 5 remains an uncompromising military guarantee against Russian aggression. For others, it is equally important to preserve NATO's identity as a defensive alliance whose primary mission is protecting its own members. As the war in Ukraine continues just beyond NATO's borders, Article 5 remains united in principle, but its role in an increasingly complex geopolitical landscape is being interpreted through different strategic lenses.